Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me to the AI and Regtech Summit. I'm excited to be with you all virtually today. The focus of my talk is on applications of Regtech for supervisors. My perspective on this subject is informed by my own background, both as a technologist and also as a former financial regulator. I was an early employee at the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, where I helped to stand up the agency's supervisory and complaint systems. And I also helped to develop the global Regtech for Regulators Accelerator, or R2A, which assists financial authorities globally to embed technology solutions to oversee increasingly digital financial marketplaces. The insights and learnings I'll be sharing today as a part of my talk come with you from my latest research endeavor, which was a 2-year research project commissioned by the World Bank Group focused on global developments in the use of data and technology by supervisors to enhance consumer finance protection or market conduct supervision specifically. And for the avoidance of doubt, I'm here speaking today in a personal capacity and not necessarily representing the institutions that I work or have worked for. So let's dig into the talk today. First, let's level set so that we're talking about the same definitions here. In my talk today, you'll hear me often refer to supervisory technology, or SupTech for short. Key difference between Regtech and SupTech is its intended user. Most definitions of Regtech focus on financial firms and their ability to achieve regulatory compliance goals, often in a more efficient manner. Meanwhile, SupTech specifically refers to the use of technology by regulators themselves to improve their own capabilities and efficiency. Obviously, these are related cousins, and there's considerable overlap between the two. And if you're a Regtech provider here in the audience today, I hope that you also see supervisors and regulators as prospective customers too. So why does this matter for supervisors and for financial firms? Over the last decade, since the 2008-2009 financial crisis, we've witnessed a transformation of consumer finance as a result of digital technology. Traditional players have undergone digital transformations, while a range of new non-traditional players have entered the market, including FinTechs, mobile network operators, and technology firms. And while this transformation has led to beneficial innovations, it also prevents supervisors with many new challenges, such as the ones listed here, around new users, new types of risks, and new entrants in the marketplace. In particular, as it relates to new users, over the last decade, globally, rates of financial exclusion have fallen as hundreds of millions of people have gained access to the formal financial system for the first time. And that's a global trend, both here in the United States and in emerging economies abroad. Of course, the answer for regulators is not to stop innovation or innovators. And a tempting policy solution for sure is to put brakes on these. And that ultimately leaves consumers, businesses, and markets worse off. Instead, the answer here is to make sure that regulators have the tools they need to rise to the challenge of overseeing new actors, new users, and new technologies. And that's why SupTech is so important. Add to this the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought forward years of digitalization and introduced new consumer vulnerabilities, and the case has only gotten stronger over the last few years. For today, I'd like to provide examples of the profound shift underway by supervisors globally to data and to technology-driven oversight. As mentioned, I'll be drawing on a 2-year research endeavor sponsored and commissioned by the World Bank Group, which culminated in a technical note published last year, for which I'm a co-author. So while I'll be going through on a high level some of the details and insights that we shared, there is a publication for you all to follow up with for specific insights for anything that I mentioned today. And so during today's presentation and talk, I hope you learn about 4 themes. The first being around motivations. Why are supervisors investing in data and technology solutions? The second is a framework introducing 4 types of solutions that regulators are pursuing. The third are some practical applications of just solutions out there that regulators are actually using today. And the fourth, and time permitting, I'll end on just practical considerations that supervisors face so that you can all understand their regulatory perspective a bit more. A little bit more about the research effort here. As you can see, our node draws from a wide range of regulatory experiences globally, and it's the result of primary and secondary research with 14 financial authorities worldwide, as listed here. And these financial authorities represent a cross-section of high, middle, and low-income countries across the world in the Americas, Europe, Asia, and in Africa. Great. Focus on our first theme today, which is motivations for SupTech adoption by regulators. Often financial authorities are driven by two primary motivations. The first is to increase operational efficiency, and the second is to enhance the effectiveness of hypothesis-driven supervision. The former often involves automating business processes by replacing elements of the supervision decision framework with data and AI algorithms, bringing significant efficiencies to the process. The latter involves helping supervisors to test and prove new hypotheses using new sources of analyses and data. As you will hear shortly, each of these motivations support several key SupTech use cases. I'll go into a few examples. And then in turn, these lead to more specific regulatory benefits in the form of improved supervisory outcomes and impacts, such as the ability to conduct true risk-based supervision. And then through this research, we identified 4 general categories of solutions that regulators out there are using for consumer financial or market conduct supervision. And each of these align with a key supervisory activity. This list and this categorization is not meant to be exhaustive, rather indicative for supervisors, and it's meant to be complemented by a lot of functionality-based taxonomies that are appearing out there. I'm going to introduce each of these 4 categories we observed across the global set of financial authorities that we researched. The first one here, starting from left, is regulatory reporting. A primary method by which regulators can identify risks and issues is to collect information directly from supervised institutions themselves. Historically, such submissions were done manually through reporting templates shared in Excel, for example, or even physical copies submitted by mail, email, fax, resulting in slow and inefficient and more error-prone processes. Today, web portals, APIs, automated data flows, or ADFs, allow for the database systems of financial institutions to communicate directly with the database systems of financial authorities, depending on the level of technical sophistication that exists. The second category is around collection and processing of complaints data. Complaints data is a valued data source for supervisors for market monitoring. SupTech solutions and complaints handling alleviate the operational burden through greater automation and better data integrity. Such solutions can also introduce new digital front-end experiences to engage with consumers regarding their complaints, questions, or inquiries. And these include via websites, mobile apps, text messaging, and NLP-enabled chatbots. Third category here is around non-traditional market monitoring. The internet provides a range of new methods, new non-traditional methods for conducting market monitoring, which is a key activity of supervisors. So monitoring social media, online news, websites, web forums, and so on can provide early warning signals of emerging risks that exist in the marketplace. Foundational to all of these solutions in this category is web scraping, which provides a mechanism for actually collecting and gathering online text data for analysis. And such a text can be used for, as mentioned, social media monitoring and others. These tools provide a useful new tool in the toolbox for supervisors to complement traditional market monitoring activities. And then the fourth category here is around document and business analysis solutions. So advances in analytics have been most profound in the realm of unstructured text data. For example, NLP or natural language processing solutions can ingest and analyze large quantities of documents, extracting insights in seconds, where previously it would have taken supervisors weeks, if possible at all. And given the more qualitative nature of consumer financial supervision, advancements in the analytics of text represent a potentially significant breakthrough moment for many supervisors. So what I'll do for the remainder of my talk today is give a case study or an example of each of these. The slides are quite detailed, but draw from the more specific technical note. So I'll go through these on a high level so you get a taste of an example from each one, and then encourage you to go to the note itself for more of the details. Going from left to right here, though, an example for each one. First example here is a supervision information system. And this represents a comprehensive IT upgrade to the collection, validation, and analytics of reported information from supervised financial institutions. And these solutions provide immense regulatory value. And they do so through two innovations. One is the direct and granular collection of regulatory data from supervised institutions. And the second is centralizing data for analysis from across the financial authority. This supervisory infrastructure supports authorities to conduct market monitoring and then offsite examinations as well. And offsite examinations have taken on outsized importance as the logistics of onsite examinations have been made more complex these last few years with the pandemic. And looking at the diagram specifically, while the exact technical deployment varies among financial authorities, we see some common technical elements across these. Starting from left, automated data flows, also called ADS, APIs or other secure transmission mechanisms, retrieve and validate data from supervised institutions. Next, in the middle here, we see a centralized data warehouse and/or customer relationship management system, store, manage, secure documents and data. This is where data manipulations or other things can happen or additional data sets are brought in. Next, we see data marts facilitate permission-based access across the financial authority. And then last here, business intelligence and other analysis tools equip supervisory staff to analyze and monitor data for trends and risks. We conducted this research on a global scale, and the two examples highlighted specifically here, one is in Canada, AMF, and the second is in Africa. We just heard about solutions for regulatory reporting. Next, we're going to go into categories, and we're going to go solutions for the collection and processing of complaints data. As previously mentioned, complaints are a rich source of data for market context supervisors, allowing them to identify trends and specific instances of products or providers with high potential harm to consumers. And just like with regulatory reporting systems, that is the data pipeline that enables higher level analytics. The same is true here with CMS systems. These are the solutions that improve data integrity, alleviate operational processing to provide those raw data sources for more advanced analytics by the regulator. And what we've seen globally is complaints data can suffer from the entry of incomplete, inaccurate, or inconsistent information that limits its value for supervisory purposes. And as CMS automates the complaints handling processes, optimizes it for data management, and expands the visibility and access to the public in submitting a complaint. Globally, these last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a trend towards much higher complaint volumes across the globe during the pandemic, indicating the increased need, as well as the associated operational burden of managing such a system. Newer CMS solutions offer 2 key innovations. One is that new digital first user experience for complaint submission. So looking here on the left of the data diagram, being able to engage with users in the channel of their choice, such as an online forum, a mobile app, or an SMS-based text engine. And then the second is around the processing and workflow automations of the complaint itself through a case manager digital interface, for example, which then can also route and work a complaint directly with a financial institution. And within our research study, we focused on 3 authorities: the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Bank of Lithuania, and then in Asia, BSP, which is the Central Bank of the Philippines. Each of these use such a system as highlighted in the note. The next step for authorities after they have a CMS system is to apply AI models to the complaints data for supervision. Many regulators are piloting such a solution. This example from East Africa, in Kenya specifically, shows how a financial authority can use various AI models for sentiment and topic analysis and actually extract new insights from complaints data to inform providers or consumer risks to focus on. Many of the analysis packages here are open source, making this a more accessible technology for many regulators. The limiting factor, though, that we find is that many regulators don't have the talent or all the people in-house to actually analyze this data. Continuing on, the third category here is around market monitoring supervision. Here we have an example of social media monitoring, which is often used together with web scraping and consumer sentiment analysis for purposes of supervision. Supervisors use this solution to directly listen to the voice of the customer and understand consumers' interactions with their providers in real time. This enables supervisors to more quickly identify and act on emerging consumer risks, and it can be used as a useful complement to complaints data, which we just heard about. Commercial solutions by Regtech providers and others have become increasingly available at competitive prices, so we see a global trend towards more financial authorities piloting or adopting such solutions. How it works on a high level from left to right. First, the solution captures social media mentions such as web forums or social media mentions on Facebook, Twitter, Google reviews, so on. Next, there's this intermediate step, typically web scraping. A tool, if it's not available via API, will transform the online content into unstructured text and metadata available for analysis. And then the third step here, supervisors can apply analytics, such as topic labeling and sentiment analysis to identify trends and emerging areas of consumer risk. Several authorities that we researched use these market monitoring tools, including the Central Bank of Ireland and the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, among others. And what we find is with these solutions, often the technology itself is the same, but the use case to which you could apply it it can be new and novel depending on the data source that you're applying it to. So in this example, with reputational analysis in the news media, regulators wanted to understand changes in sentiment towards the financial providers themselves in news mentions, in Yahoo, BBC, Google News, to understand market perceptions of the financial firm. Excellent. We just heard about examples of solutions for non-traditional market monitoring. And to wrap up our talk today, I'm going to focus on a fourth category, which is document and business analysis solutions. Many of the SupTech solutions that fall into this category focus on the analysis of unstructured text data. And each of these applications are of natural language processing, or NLP. NLP refers broadly to the ability of computers and algorithms to analyze text and speech data. And this includes the ability to infer topics in the text, classify and categorize documents, and measure other text characteristics such as sentiment. The ability to analyze large quantities of unstructured text data is very valuable for supervisors, given the more qualitative nature of a lot of their work. And how it works from left to right here, first you start with the text to analyze, such as documents. Next, supervisors must calibrate and train the NLP algorithms themselves to extract the insights that the supervisor is keen on obtaining. Examples of NLP algorithms that we've seen used include topic models, bag of words, and sentiment scoring. And then the last one here is on reports and analysis and actually deriving meaning and insights from that data. Many of these document and business analysis solutions share common NLP capabilities. So practically for financial authorities, this means that development of one of these solutions can assist in the development of others. And we see it being applied to a number of regulatory use cases, such as the ability to better conduct on-site examinations of financial services providers, the ability to inspect changes in account terms and account agreements in terms of and conditions, and the ability to add automations to the licensing process for new providers. And these are among just a short list of emerging use cases that we're seeing across financial authorities here for the use of this technology. And within the paper itself, A lot of the authorities we focused on come from Europe, including the Central Bank of Portugal, a Dutch regulator, the Bank of England, and a Canadian regulator as well. As an example here of a case study from a Canadian regulator, they were looking to better improve their ability to inspect documents received by supervised institutions, which range from the hundreds. Each document can be hundreds of pages long. And they were looking to develop a tool that was both inductive and deductive, meaning that it both allowed a smart search, so the supervisor can go to a document and search for thematic themes, but then also return back to the supervisor themes contained within a document itself. And this has been quite powerful for them and has made their online and offsite examinations quite much more productive. Excellent. So we've heard about the 4 categories of SupTech solutions: regulatory reporting, collection and processing of complaints data, and non-traditional market monitoring, and document and business analysis. These solutions don't exist in a vacuum, though. What is clear from the research is that the adoption of supervisory technology for regulators is more than just the solution itself. It is about people, process, and IT infrastructure. And we found that a singular focus on implementation of individual SupTech solutions was insufficient without broader consideration of these underlying and larger enablers. So as a Regtech provider, for example, working with a SupTech, working with a regulator, thinking comprehensively around each of these things is important to actually achieving success in working with a regulator here. I believe we are at the conclusion of our talk today. Thank you everyone for joining. Here are my email and LinkedIn information. I love connecting with other enthusiasts on the subject. The technical note from which this talk is based is available now on the World Bank website for download.